What? This isn't my regular shooting location. No, it's not. But you guys remember that in my last video, which was my trailer review for Super Mario Odyssey, I said that Mario held a very special place in my heart. What I did not say is the fact that Sonic also did. I mean, it came to the point, my brother and I loved Sonic so much when we were younger that we would actively seek out and try to find as many Sonic the Hedgehog related games as we could possibly get our hands on. But by showing you the mass collection of Sonic the Hedgehog games my brother and I have collected over the years, the basis for this video is because at some point down the road, I am planning on doing video game reviews. Obviously not very often because video games are very expensive. But without further ado, let's get started, shall we? First up is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 Battle. To be perfectly honest, this is the first Sonic the Hedgehog game I actually remember playing. And it's probably my favorite, not only for the nostalgia factor, but for the fact that it introduced to me that anti-heroes and villains can be really, really cool. And that is the introduction of Shadow the Hedgehog. And while I'll admit that the Sonic levels, the Shadow levels, and the Chow Garden are easily the best part of this game, it's not without flaws, because every other character, all of their missions, they just don't really matter. They're kind of slow, and they're kind of boring. So, even though it does have a lot of flaws, it's still a lot of fun to play. Okay, let's move on. These next two games I'm going to group into one category because they're basically just two different versions of the same thing, and that is Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games and Mario and Sonic at the Winter Olympic Games. Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, first off, is a game that blew my mind because I love Mario, I love Sonic, but the two of them coming together, that's awesome! And no, the games aren't sophisticated whatsoever. There's no plot, there's no deepness like an Uncharted game, but it's just a really, really fun way to see if you can participate in the Olympics, specifically with Mario and Sonic characters. Our next up on my collection through Sonic the Hedgehog is Sonic Mega Collection. The games inside the disc are actually really fun. There is the first original really groundbreaking Sonic the Hedgehog game for the Sega Genesis, and then also it comes with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3D Blast, Sonic Spinball, and Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. And although I'll admit that Sonic the Hedgehog, the original, is definitely the best Sonic game that has ever come out, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, don't get me wrong, I played that a lot when I was younger. The next two games I can easily say definitely start dipping into that nostalgic guilty pleasure area when it comes to Sonic games, and that is Sonic Riders and Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. And yeah, while I'll admit that these games are a lot of fun and I enjoy the controls, I enjoy the mechanics of how the skateboard type boards they actually work, I'll admit the plot's pretty much the same, and also it's basically a Mario Kart game for Sonic the Hedgehog characters. Alrighty, next up is a game I'll admit is not good in any way, but it is a game that is a guilty pleasure for me and I will continuously play because it has my favorite characters surrounded in it, and that's Shadow the Hedgehog. Does the story make any sense? Nope. Why is Shadow using a gun and why is he cursing? I have no idea, but I cannot deny how much fun I continuously have whenever I pop this game in. Either way, if Shadow's an alien or if he's the ultimate life form, he's still one of the coolest characters ever created, let's be honest. Even if he does look like Vegeta from DBZ. Sonic Heroes, Sonic Heroes. If you couldn't tell, the next game we're going to talk about is Sonic Heroes. Okay, now this is the first Sonic game where I have to admit, I can't really play this game anymore. It was a lot of fun when I was younger, but the fact that the levels and the missions for each one of the characters inside of this game is all the same, it just starts grinding on my gears now. Although I do think in essence the story is actually a very, very cool idea. Having to deal with Metal Sonic and him stealing the DNA of other characters so he can become the ultimate life form. I mean, that is really cool, but the game, yeah, the game's not really all that good, unfortunately. Although it does have a really awesome theme song. Now we're going back into the territory of Sonic games I actually think are pretty good, and that is Sonic Unleashed. Yeah, it's got its issues for sure. The werehog stuff is all just useless and nonsense. Sonic's the fastest creature on Earth. You should never slow him down. But honestly, getting past the werehog missions, the daytime missions where Sonic can actually go his full speed are really, really fantastic. And when he's going full throttle, Man, that is exciting to say the very least. Sonic meets LSD, that's what's next with Sonic Colors. Now look, I'm not saying I do not have fun with Sonic Colors, but the fact is, it basically is Sonic the Hedgehog meets drugs, because Sonic eats these random aliens. He starts seeing very, very pretty colors, and he gets superpowers. I mean, come on. The game's a lot of fun, but you know what I'm saying. Now we move on to the game that preceded Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and that is Sonic Adventure DX, the Director's Cut. Honestly, I couldn't tell you anything about anything other than the Director's Cut, because this is the only one I've ever owned, but I feel the same way with the issues that I have with this game that I do about Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Sonic, all of his missions are fantastic. I think even the missions with Tails are pretty cool. But honestly, all the missions in the game are the same, and it's surrounded by way too many characters, way too many missions, and unlike Final Fantasy VI or Chrono Trigger, this is a game where you really do not connect with any of the characters except for Sonic and probably Tails. And once again, we have two Sonic games to group together, and that is Sonic the Hedgehog and the Secret Rings and Sonic the Hedgehog and the Black Knight. Now, why am I grouping these together? Well, it's simple. You have the 1001 Nights, and then you have King Arthur. Fairy tales, mystery, and all around awesome. Are these games all around awesome? Not in the least. Look, I'll admit that the story structures for both of these games are something that I appreciate because there's something so different from the rest of the Sonic the Hedgehog games. But yeah, the controls are terrible. Sonic is just slowed right down to a bitter crawl in both of these games. And as far as the multiplayer goes, the multiplayer is pretty much garbage. Now, out of all the games that I've talked about so far, you may have noticed there's one I haven't mentioned, and it's coming up last. And this is the Sonic game that is the most controversial and probably the most hated of all the Sonic games, and that is Sonic Next Gen. Now, to be perfectly honest, when this game first came out, my brother and I were all over it. First of all, the game, no one can deny the graphics inside of this game for the time, for 2006, they look phenomenal. The gameplay aspects of it, not so much. Sonic and Shadow don't have their full speed. They're so slow. There are too many side missions in the game itself. And I will say that Silver the Hedgehog, his mission and everything that he has to do in this story, that was the most compelling for me. Also, this game has way too many bugs. First off, there are far too many loading screens. When you talk to townspeople, sometimes their lips aren't even moving, and the dialogue will be coming out. I mean, this game, no matter what you think of the graphics and part of the story, this game really is not good. And you know, I find it funny because on the back of the game it says, "This time speed won't be enough," because they take away all the speed that Sonic has. And that brings us to the end of my Sonic the Hedgehog collection. Look, this video was so much fun to make, and I was so happy to share this with you guys. And if you want to know what my favorite 3 Sonic the Hedgehog games are, they are Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, Sonic Unleashed, and Shadow the Hedgehog. Is it a Sonic the Hedgehog game? Nope. But this is definitely for the guilty pleasure aspect. But honestly, this channel would not be where it is without your guys' help. So I gotta thank you once again. Doesn't matter if I say it 50 times, I still have to say it. Thank you so much. Whether it be movie reviews, starting to talk about video games, or short films, none of this would be possible without your guys' help and without your guys' support. But as always, it is what you guys say that matters. So what did you think of this collection video as a whole? And what is your favorite Sonic the Hedgehog game from this collection? Leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts. And make sure you stay awesome, play some video games, and as always, have a fantastic day.